normally it's 616 horsepower, but as we're in the Turbo S model, when you're doing launch control, you get as much as 760.
Okay.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
I'm driving right now the 2020 Porsche Taycan Turbo S. This is Porsche's answer to the electric car, and it's all Porsche except you've got two electric motors. All the usual Porsche cues are here. Sitting next to me, Calvin King. Calvin, how are you?
Excellent.
He's our Porsche guy. You know, the Porsche representative brought this to us. Most people have not seen this yet, or much less driven it, so this is a real honor. We're driving first today because it's been kind of a busy day and it's getting dark outside, so I thought we'd drive the car first and then bring it back to the garage and talk a little bit about it. So it's pretty impressive so far. What are we looking at horsepower-wise? 700 or more?
Well, normally it's 616 horsepower, but as we're in the Turbo S model, when you're doing launch control, you get as much as 760.
Okay. That's only at launch control?
Yes.
Or is that it? Okay.
It's only at launch control.
Only at launch control. And then as soon as you're underway, you're back to 600 and something.
616, yeah.
616, okay, there you go.
But the torque is more than satisfying. It's got 774 pound-feet, so that should keep people pretty happy.
Right, right. And the thing I find interesting, I believe this is the only electric vehicle that has a transmission so far.
That's right.
Correct?
That's right. So the front motor is single speed, just like any other dual motor electric car, but on the back we've got a 2-speed gearbox. Something unique about that gearbox is the actuation method. You know, you have automatic transmissions, dual clutch transmissions. Right. On our 2-speed gearbox, the first gear is selected with a dog clutch, like a race car.
Right.
And then the second gear is like an automated clutch. And that's so that we can make the 1-2 shift as soft or as hard as we need it to be. Gotcha. And then in first gear, we can completely disconnect the rear axle so that you have maximum efficiency.
Now this is a pre-production car, correct?
Correct.
So that means it's close to perfect, but not quite perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so a few other things are not. Now I'm curious as to why Porsche chose to do a transmission, because it was sort of explained to me it's not really necessary because you have constant continuous torque.
Yeah, for Porsche, the design requirements not only had to have a good efficiency on the highway, on the Autobahn specifically at higher speeds, but also needed the instantaneous acceleration that EVs are kind of famous for, right?
Right, right.
And so for us, the only solution that kind of made sense was to have a 2-speed transmission. Literally a high gear and a low gear.
Right.
And low gear obviously gets you off the line as fast, very judiciously. And high gear is what the car gets into for highway cruising.
Because I remember when some electric cars came out initially, they did have transmissions, but they all broke because there's such tremendous torque.
Right.
So I imagine that's probably more torque than any Porsche engine other than a racing car has had. Is that fair to say?
That is fair to say, and this is the Turbo S Taycan. The Taycan Turbo S is the fastest car we make. So there's a lot of
accelerating car we make.
Fastest accelerating car we make, and the quickest.
Even faster than all the real turbo cars.
And so, needless to say, the transmission technology has caught up to the level where we can use it.
You know, it's amazing how far technology has come. Just looking at the steering wheel, the fact is there's actually an airbag in this tiny center hub.
Yeah.
You know, I used to hate airbag cars because they had that big pillow-looking thing in the middle of a beautiful steering wheel. You know, here you still got the classic Porsche wheel, and you're able to get it in there. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's the same wheel that's in our 911.
Right. I imagine designing the suspension is totally different for an electric car. I mean, all the usual Porsche tricks, as you might say, that they have in handling and suspension design. You kind of have to rewrite the book because you're looking at what, 50, 100 pounds?
That's right.
Like that here?
That's right. But the thing about Porsche is our core fundamentals are good. And so realistically speaking, it's a calibration exercise now. Porsche dynamic chassis control, the 3-chamber air suspension, the 4D chassis control software, like all of that stuff, which are in our Panamera, for example, are all applicable on this car.
Right.
Just turned up a little bit for the weight. Yeah.
Now, I suspect, being Porsche, the premium was on the handling. Because the horsepower, I'm not tired of the horsepower race, but I'm just amazing how it just keeps climbing and climbing and climbing. And rather than come out with a 900 or 1,000 horsepower equivalent vehicle, just from the short drive you've taken so far, it seems like a lot of the design ethos was on the handling of the car.
That's right. That's right. I mean, this car was designed and developed in Germany, in Weissach, where our engineers that design and calibrate GT3s and 911s and Boxers and Caymans are. And so the car fundamentally has to be fun to drive.
And I would guess this vehicle is bought, not primarily, but I would say everyone that has bought one so far probably has another Porsche, don't they? A 911 or?
A 911, Panamera, some experience with Porsches, and actually surprisingly a lot of people have experience with EVs in general as well.
Right.
So they've had a premium EV in their garage already.
I have driving modes here on the dashboard. What am I in now? Let me see. That's normal, that's sport, sport plus, normal, individual. Oh, sport plus is probably where I want to be, right?
Yeah, sport plus is
does that bring the handling down?
Yes.
Does it tighten up?
It tightens up the handling.
Okay.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
I'm not feeling this shift. Let me see. Okay, I think I did there.
Well, we're already moving.
Right.
So that's more than likely you're probably already in second gear.
Okay. So it's a very short first gear.
Exactly.
Okay,
and you really notice it when you're doing launch control.
Okay. Yeah. I never use launch control in my internal combustion vehicles. I just feel like I'm stupidly overtaxing the powertrain system.
Yeah.
I'm always a rolling start kind of guy. I'm never a red light and then burn out 2 strips of rubber and all that kind of deal. So to me, launch control, I've got a P1 McLaren. I don't use it in that. I don't use it in the 12C. I don't use it in any of those cars. But I imagine an electric car, it's different. It almost makes no difference to an electric engine, doesn't it? Power is power.
Power is power, and if you're doing it too excessively, the car will kind of handle itself.
Right.
The Taycan in particular has a very, very complicated but very effective multi-channel, thermal management system.
So I'm shifting at what, 22 miles an hour, something like that?
It all depends on the mode. Since you're in Sport Plus, it'll probably hold first gear a little bit longer.
Okay, but not much.
Not much.
I mean, it's not like a 55 or 60 mile an hour and then a shift.
It might, depending if that's what you're
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay. Now, is the noise I'm hearing manufactured, or is it the actual noise of the motor?
A little of both.
Okay.
So there is some gear whine, some electric motor noise, inevitably, but there's additional noise from a synthesis of that. So what they did is they took the car in an acoustic room, recorded the sounds, and then tuned them so that the frequencies and noises kind of relate to what the car is doing.
So the way you would tune an exhaust system and internal combustion.
Exactly.
Okay, now if I put my foot down now, it's not going to shift, right? Let's see. Oh, there it is.
You heard that?
Yeah, I felt it shift. Okay. Yeah. Again, a different type of shift, and it's so seamless.
Yeah.
Now, the shifting that I'm hearing is back tires strictly only, right?
Correct.
Okay. Back tires only, so are the front tires now sort of freewheeling? You know what I'm saying? Pushing it along, or are they?
No, when you're on the throttle, when you're on full throttle, it's sending power to both axles.
I guess my question is, when it shifts, can the rear tires overpower the front tires? By that I mean, are they then pushing the electric motors in the front?
Oh yeah.
Over you know what I'm saying?
Probably, I would imagine just a very momentarily.
Almost like a freewheeling, almost like a clutch type.
Yeah.
They're still putting power, but there's more power coming from the back.
Exactly.
It'll click like a ratchet.
Yeah.
And then,
you get that impulse.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Was there any thought to building a 2-door coupe, or was it always a 4-door from the get-go?
For sure. I mean, if anything, our first kind of foray into being serious about electric cars and e-mobility came from the 918 Spyder, which, as you know, is a two-door coupe.
Right, right.
Carbon fiber.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, but that's a two-seater.
Two-seater, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Body
I was
styles and
fascinated by the
everything,
918, but I found it so fascinatingly complex.
Yes.
I mean, complex beyond the point where even the Porsche guys didn't quite understand. I mean, you needed the 918 tech.
Yes.
You needed that guy to answer any question.
I mean, that car had a lot of capability. And, you know, that car's performance came from the driver. Like, you had to know how to use that car.
Right.
To extract every last horsepower or kilowatt.
Right, and that had a range of what, 90 miles?
Oh no, on just pure plug-in, I don't think it was that high. But the idea wasn't for you to, you know, go on long trips on electric power. And even back then, we had the rear electric motor going through our PDK transmission. So even back then, we were experimenting with having a multi-speed electric powertrain.
Was there any talk of building a hybrid, or was it always going to be all electric from the get-go?
For this car, it was going to be electric from the get-go. We've done the hybrid thing now.
Right.
And hybrids aren't going to go away for sure, but you know, at some point you kind of jump in the deep end.
Right.
I like the throttle and the steering response.
Throttle and steering response are very nice, and it, you know, it carries its weight very well. There's almost no car that's 5,000 pounds. We live in an era of, you know, lightweight, and people tend to think of, you know, I mean, I've got some sports cars. My Lotus weighs 1,300 pounds. You know? But it's down so low that it's almost imperceptible. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
And this car has ticks off a lot of firsts for us. It's not the first, but the greatest, I guess. Lowest center of gravity, stiffest chassis. You know,
well, sure, lowest center of gravity because, you know, people don't realize a lot of times, like Chevrolet with the Corvette, when they raced it, they said, oh, you're using that old-fashioned engine. With the cam and the block, with the overhead cam, that raised your center of gravity higher. So when you go into a corner, you wouldn't think these two cams up here would be that much, but they did. So having it in the block made it actually advantageous. And you realize there is really not hardly any weight, but no more than a fraction of weight is above the axle line, isn't it? So you're not going to flip this car in a corner. I mean, you might be able to.
I mean, you got to be doing
pretty stupid.
Exactly.
You got to be pretty stupid to do that. Yeah. Well, like I say, all the usual Porsche cues are here. You even got the power button on this side where the key would be. This makes me laugh. You know, the only thing that annoys me, and I know I'm not the only Porsche guy, and I'm sure you've heard this, is why they call it a turbo, as there's no turbo in it. I mean, I realize it's a marketing term now, but I hate when engineering terms become marketing terms, because then they have no, you know, it's like the Hemi. Hardly any engines are Hemis anymore, but they use the Hemi name because it harkens back to the legendary Hemi, you know.
Well, somebody must have had an old 486 DX2 PC with the turbo switch on it.
Let's see if those turbos kick in. But I know I have people that say, I want to get one of those new electric Porsches, but I want to get the one with the turbos on. There's no turbo. It's just you can't have a turbo with an electric engine. It's just a marketing tool. It just seems so unlike Porsche to me. That's what just sort of makes me laugh. Because they've always understated everything. You know, 0 to 60 and 3.1. Then you go, so what's really 2.9? And well, that's impressive. You know. And of course, unlike a traditional car, there's no maintenance at all with this, really, is there?
I mean, just, you know, air pressure,
tire pressure. Obviously, batteries are liquid cooled, correct? Yeah, okay. And you've got regen on braking.
Yeah, actually, it's the highest level of regen on the market right now.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, up to 265 kilowatts, which is...
Is that adjustable or no?
Yes, it's all but with your left foot. So your left foot does all the regen, and then the car itself will blend in the hydraulic brakes as needed.
My left foot does the regen.
Or your right foot on the left pedal, sorry.
You mean on the brake?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, so all your regen is on the... When I'm off throttle, I'm not regenning.
You are a little bit. And if you look at on the dash...
I see it goes to green.
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously your brakes last longer because you're using the electric engine to slow you down as well.
Exactly.
You know, I've got a 1916 Owens Magnetic, and that has what they call electric brakes.
Yeah.
It's a gas engine driving Westinghouse electric motor, which powers the car.
It's like an old locomotive.
Like a locomotive, because the idea, see, back in 1916, battery technology was such that electric cars couldn't go very far.
Yeah.
So by having a gas engine drive an electric engine, you had an electric car that was powered by gasoline. The advantage was there was no clutch and there was no shifting, so a person could just drive using their right foot. But it's fascinating to see that sort of.
It's a hybrid,
high technology. Yeah, this is very nice. What's the primary market for this? It's mostly America, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this car's going to be sold globally, but we're launching the car here in the United States first.
Because Germany seems to, they seem so environmentally minded in Germany.
Yeah.
You think electric cars would, I know Norway, they go crazy for electric cars. But not so much Germany. Why is that, you think? More tradition? Is an electric Porsche seen with, what is this? I mean, does it seem odd to, like here, I think Americans are used to EVs. We have the Tesla, we got the Chevy Bolt, we got the little Fiat. I mean, electrics are, especially in California, they've been around for a decade now.
Yeah. I think the main thing is it's important to not only be environmentally friendly and think about the kind of the whole ecosystem of the car, but it's also important to see how the car works with your life.
Right.
I think for Americans, it's just maybe we commute a little bit further, and so the idea of trading, stopping at the pump every week to plugging in every night is a little bit easier for us to handle.
Right.
There's a multitude of reasons. Maybe it's just Americans like to be a little bit flashier. I don't know.
Now, does Porsche make their own batteries? Are these traditional lithium-ion batteries, water-cooled, blah, blah?
They are.
Or is there something different about it? Because I know the range on this is a little over 200 miles.
Yeah.
And there are other electric cars on the market that have more miles.
Correct. Yeah.
What is the reason for that? Is it to balance battery life with, you know what I'm saying?
All of the above. I mean, number one, since this is our first real battery electric vehicle, the idea that we can just kind of wing it and hope that it all works out is it's not on the cards.
Right.
It has to be perfect.
Right.
It has to deliver that trouble-free experience that EV owners have kind of come to expect from their cars.
Mm-hmm.
That came at the expense of a bit of range, but I think most people will find that they'd much rather have that longevity, real world longevity, than a couple extra miles on paper.
Right.
Because the moment you start driving this aggressively, in the dead of winter or in the hottest days of summer, your range is compromised anyway for maximum range.
Right.
So instead of focusing on maximum range, we should be talking about real world everyday usability and how the car interacts again with the environment. So for us, we have a partnership with Electrify America and their DC fast charger network. And basically you have to ask yourself, are there enough fast chargers around me where I don't really have to worry about it? And yeah, in some markets the answer is not a firm yes, but in others it is a firm yes.
Right. Okay.
There's one a mile away from your garage, for example.
Okay.
So
now, does this have a battery temperature gauge in the way that you would have a water temperature or an oil temperature gauge in internal combustion?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked, because it's right up on the dash right now.
Okay, where is it?
We're at 82 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay, that's battery technology.
Yep.
That's battery, okay.
Yeah, and that's for your main battery.
Okay.
So what you're seeing right there on the top line, your state of charge, 73%.
Right.
Underneath that is the temperature for the battery. Then below that is your 12-volt system.
Right.
And then you can see your distance to empty underneath your speedometer.
Gotcha. Okay. And batteries like to be about 74 degrees, but then give 6 or 7.
For us, our battery doesn't mind being warm. In fact, if you want the maximum performance for charging, you actually want it to be in the mid-90s or higher even.
Right.
So our car, it obviously functions in this range, and it probably will be happier for longevity's purposes. But when you're talking about where it's comfortable in, it can go up into the 90s.
Yeah,
no problem.
Does this charge faster, slower, about the same as other EVs on the market? Is there anything different about it that way?
Because of the water cooling nature and the fact that the batteries like a little bit of temperature, the 800-volt charging system can shove in a lot of juice in the first 5-10 minutes of your charge. And so if you go to an 800-volt charging station that can output the amount of kilowatts that the car can take, then yeah, you'll get a honking load of current in there at once.
Now, that's not something you can do on a regular basis.
I mean, the car has enough safety measures where, yeah, I mean, if you're doing it every day, that's probably not the best case scenario. But yeah, if you're your average owner and you go on a road trip once every other month or something, yeah, it's fine.
Right.
It's not a problem. Yeah. There's enough safety margin in the pack to allow for that.
Let's blow past this camera car. Were these tires made and designed for this car?
Absolutely.
It's not an off-the-shelf tire.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah, to combine the load rating, low rolling resistance, but yet performance. That's a tough.
And just standard pressure, 32 pounds, or do you want 40 or 45 in these?
Yeah, I think 38 and 41.
Oh, 38 and 41.
Yeah,
okay, same as Tesla.
Yeah. I think it's more a function of the weight.
Yeah.
So.
It's a very relaxing car to drive. It's a very nice car to drive. I'm glad Porsche is making this because they continue to make. You can't. It's so funny. When I drive around LA, I count the Porsches, the Mercedes, and the Ferraris, and I go on the road. And I'm in Gary, Indiana, or Des Moines, Iowa, and I don't see any.
Yeah.
I mean, now I do. I'll see the SUV, and the panorama, and all of that. But not so much. You can only sell so many two-seater sports cars.
Exactly.
I mean, then you reach a point where I met a lot of people get mad when the SUV first came out. Oh, they're ruining it. But that's how you stay in business.
Exactly.
And this is another way you stay in business. I mean, this is a great city car when because let's face it, a lot of metropolitan areas may even ban internal combustion engines as they have in Europe.
That's right.
But if you have something like this, you're still in your Porsche, you're still going fast,
you're
still having fun, but you're not polluting.
Exactly. And again, this is just the start. I mean, who knows what the next 10, 20 years will bring.
Oh, I think you'll see. I think the next thing is going to see be the entire body of the car will be a battery. You'll have wires going through the carbon fiber. Well, let's take this back to the garage and we'll put it under the light box and show people what it looks like up close. Well, as you can see, we did this backwards, as I mentioned. We drove the car first because it was getting dark out. We wanted to make sure we could get it out there while there's still some sunlight, and we bring it back now. We'll talk about it a little bit, talk about the drive, and let you see what the car looks like up close. I mean, unmistakably Porsche, especially the front end. Yeah. And it's funny because nothing about it makes me think electric because it looks like a Porsche four-door car. What's different? I mean, massive brakes. I assume that's because you don't have compression braking.
Correct. I mean, as we mentioned in the car, it's a heavier car, so you need the braking ability to have the performance work. And the car is designed to go fast and be dynamic, so the brakes kind of match its ethos.
Now, the regen, is it in the caliper?
It's in the motors. It's in the front motor, and that's kind of what the beauty of having a dual motor setup is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. So so when you press the brake, obviously the caliper is just doing its job, touching the rotor to stop you. Yeah. There's no regen that takes place within.
Under normal circumstances, what will happen is as you're pushing your brake pedal, the the front motor will energize the other way, and it will then act as a generator.
Okay.
And it can modulate the strength of its generation, if you will, based on how much brake pedal you're giving it.
Right.
Up to a certain point, at which point then the hydraulic brakes will take over.
Let me ask you about the design. Obviously, all Porsche are designed in a wind tunnel, and you want to get the best coefficient of drag, blah, blah, blah. This being an electric, the underside of the car, obviously there's no need to work around exhaust systems and mufflers and things like that, so you can be pretty smooth. Do you know the coefficient of drag on this car?
For the Turbo S, because of its larger wheels and tires, it's 0.25.
Right.
But the Turbo model, the one right below this one, has a little bit slipperier wheel and tire set. That's 0.22, which is the slipperiest car we've ever made.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's even more. How does that compare to the race cars?
Well, the race cars, unfortunately, have gigantic splitters and wings.
Well, of course, that's actually worse.
Yeah.
It's worse. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I remember back in the 30s when they were experimenting with coefficient of drag and all kind of stuff. It was quite common to have, 0.025 or whatever it might be, because they didn't have downforce or anything of that nature, because just pure design. Well, that's actually pretty good, isn't it? So this is the slippiest car you've ever built. That's fascinating. What else can we ask about? Obviously, your charge port. There's one on each side?
One on each side, and if you want to give the bottom of that little black fin a little swipe, you can actually open it.
How do I?
There we go. Yep, I can hear it.
Okay, oh, there you are. Okay, very cool. So this is the standard, most cities, public charge on this one.
Yep.
And then that one is the 800 monster charger. What is it, 800 volt? No,
800 volt. Yep.
800 volt.
Yeah.
Good heavens, 800 volts.
Yeah.
So that can give it an 80% charge in what, 20 minutes, something like that?
From 5 to 80 in 22.5 minutes.
Oh, that's not bad at all. And to close it, I press this button?
Just give it a swipe on the underside of the fin again. There you go.
Oh, there you go. All right, there you are. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, oh, that's very cool. What else have we got here? I mean, it has all EVs seem to have the door handles. You have to. On this, you pull up and it opens.
Exactly.
Right? Okay, but then
there's still a mechanical cell in it and everything.
Okay, and then it retracts.
Yep.
And you've got the glass roof, but it does not open, correct?
It does not open.
Okay.
A metal roof will be available, I think, in a few months.
Okay.
We just wanted to launch kind of the most popular configuration.
And does this change color depending on the rays of the sun, how hot it gets, or anything like that?
Nope, it's just got a lot of filters to keep UV and infrared light at bay, so that when you're inside the car, you're not baking.
Like most EVs, or front-wheel drive cars, you've got a flat floor, although you appear to have what looks like a transmission tunnel, but obviously it's not. That's for batteries?
Correct. And what we did is the space where the rear footwells are, we actually pulled those batteries out to make those footwell spaces.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, I've been in some EVs that your head is against the roof because you stack the batteries this high in the floor.
That's right, yeah.
So I see. So you have sort of a faux transmission tunnel.
Exactly.
And you lined out. Oh, that was very clever. Okay.
The batteries that we pulled out of the footwells, we just put them underneath the rear seats, which you want anyway. Yeah.
And you have two motors. The rear one is obviously more powerful because it has the transmission.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Do you know the horsepower of each motor? If it's 616, is it like 400 in this, or is it closer to 50-50?
We don't really have a split necessarily because it doesn't really matter anymore. I mean, you basically have two motors that kind of can work independently, and when you need the maximum amount of power, both of them will give you the max that you want. So.
And we have a trunk, and what do they call that? A frunk? Is that what they
Front
call
trunk, yeah.
How big is that? Can we see?
Yeah. Go ahead and open it for you.
Yeah. Okay, obviously your engine is right here.
A lot of the power inverter and electronics underneath the cover. Obviously the brake master cylinder is right there too. But yeah, this is the front cargo area. You got some spare tools underneath each of these covers.
Spare tools for what? You can't fix anything. You can't fix anything in an electric engine if it breaks.
You can patch a tire, for example.
Oh, okay. There you go. And obviously there's no spare tire, which is one of my pet peeves, but that's what everything is now.
Correct.
You know, every tire splits on the sidewall. Yeah. And they give you that can of stuff that goes, and then just leaves foam on the street, and then you're stuck. All right. That's fine. I know why I was expecting this whole area to be a trunk. Okay. And you have the same size in the back as well?
In the back, it's fairly roomy, and on top of that, the rear seats fold flat 60/40.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Oh, can we do that? Can we open that? Let's see. Wow, real world luggage. Look at that.
I've got my luggage in there. That bag has the charger that comes with the car.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
that's a 110, right?
110 or 220.
Okay, and that takes 6 to 8 weeks to charge.
Well, on a 110 for sure.
110 takes a yeah. So you put it in the beginning of summer. By fall, you're out driving.
Yeah, you want to make sure you have a 220 available. If you buy this car.
Yeah. Okay. And you said the seats fold down as well?
Yep.
Let's see how that works. Oh, that's very cool. Yeah. So
and the other side as well.
you actually get a set of skis in there too.
Yeah, and it's flat so that you can
sleep in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a camper as well. Well, that's pretty practical.
Yeah, we've tried to make a car that's usable every day. That was the kind of priority.
Well, you know, kind of you think of Porsche, you always think of sports car, but you have sort of the best of both worlds. You got it's a sporty car that you can actually convince other family members. No, there's more to this. I'm not being greedy.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, we can't take the kids or the in-laws or whatever.
What have aluminum here?
Yep, aluminum. There's some high-strength steel and some magnesium inside the frame for rigidity. And then, of course, you've got the batteries that are in their own little cocoon that add a tremendous amount of rigidity to the chassis also.
Do I need assist? Does the front end raise up if I'm...
The whole car will. So on the dash, there's a little touch area with a little indicator.
Right, okay.
Hit that, the whole car will raise up about
So if you're
an
entering
inch.
a speed bump or something.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, that's pretty cool. Okay, what else we got here? What is that I'm looking at there?
That is the top latch mount. So if you have a child seat,
Oh, I see.
yeah, you just pop open that cover and there's the little
Oh, okay, gotcha.
and then of course that's also the speaker grill for the optional Burmester sound
Right.
system that this car has.
And these handles will retract eventually?
They'll retract on time or when you lock the car.
I see, I see. So that's what, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, something like that?
I think because the key's in the car, it's just going to think, oh, this guy must be getting ready to go. So probably we'll leave it out.
Are these wheels unique to this model, or are they panorama or something?
No, these wheels are unique to this model. It's a standard wheel, and some unique aspects of it are the fact that you can get the barrel painted in one color and the spokes painted in another.
Right.
So it's kind of what your imagination will allow. We have a couple of preset colors. Aurum, which is kind of like a matte gold, a satin finish color, which looks pretty good, or gloss black, or some combination.
Right. What is the wheelbase?
I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it's a little bit shorter than a Panamera.
Oh, okay.
If you think of this as kind of like a Panamera light on size, at least, that's about right.
Well, I'm fascinated. It's the fastest accelerating car Porsche makes.
Yeah.
This is quite a claim.
Yeah.
Because you guys make some fast cars. Is that to 100? Is that to 60? Is that to
60? Yeah.
To 60. Okay. Well, impressive. Let's see. Anything else we need to know here? I felt like I'm about to say, hey, let's go for a drive, but we just went for a drive.
Well, we've touched on the batteries, the body, the interior, the motors, the transmission. We've got aerodynamics, like the little spoiler that pops up.
And we didn't really get a good shot. Let's show people the dashboard again. As you can see, Porsche always has the famous Porsche clock in the
on the dash.
And what is that primarily? That's for the
Sport Chrono function.
Right.
So you can set up a lap timer and you can see your splits very easily. A lot of people say, well, you can see it on the head unit in numbers, but it's really easy to just glance and see where the needle is.
But that's kind of like a jacuzzi in your house. You use it for like the first 3 days, and then you never, ever turn it on again. And then one day, after like a year and a half, you turn it on, and the seals have dried out and it's useless.
You can also use it to time your street light, how long it takes for the light to turn green. And
an egg. Okay, but it is. This is one of those things, because I know guys, they got to have that. And then, have you ever used that? Well, I did when I first got it, but no, I don't use it. It just makes me laugh. It's nice. But I like the dash. Nice and clean and simple and very, very Porsche-like. There's sort of a theme that runs through all the Porsches, which is kind of nice. Yeah, I think it's a really good-looking car, and it should be very successful. So this is the top of the line. Then the regular turbo model without the S is basically the same car with what, just less trim? Is it?
A little less power. It has a different front inverter, so you have a little bit less power on the front motor. And it comes with 20-inch wheels instead of 21s.
Okay.
And it comes with regular metal brakes instead of these carbon
I gotta admit, I like 20s. My trouble with 21-inch wheels is I blow tire. LA, it's like Fort Apache, and there's just things in the road. There's arrows. There's everything else, and you just blow tires all the time. I mean, I've gone through 21-inch, and they always break the side when you hit a pothole. It pinches, and you can't fix the tire. So I imagine the 20s give you more comfortable
Yeah,
ride, don't they?
they're a much more supple ride.
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
quieter, and you get better range out of them. So.
Yeah. Oh, is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So, but this is the performance model.
Correct.
And because it's a 4-seater and a 4-door, you just keep thinking it's a grocery getter.
Yeah.
But it's the fastest accelerating car you make, and they do pretty well on the track, don't they?
They do. They do. Yeah.
So has this car been around Nurburgring?
Of course. Yeah, it did a 742 around the ring.
Well, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, considering its, I guess its weight and the fact that, most EVs generally aren't known for track performance.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I did Nurburgring, and this is 8-9 years ago, in a Jaguar XKR, and I did an 810 or something like that, which was all right.
That's fast.
It was all right.
That's
It was
doing pretty
okay.
good.
It was
You're doing
okay.
good.
I mean, it's amazing because it's 13 miles, and you're
Yeah.
driving. How much money? I'm not even halfway around this thing, and you go through the carousel and the whole. I mean, it was a lot of fun.
There are people with round trip commutes less than that.
Yeah, and it's funny because you're on it, and then people flying by on Kawasaki's just flying off the road and hitting a tree, and they just keep going. And the great thing about Nurburgring is it's considered a highway.
Yeah.
So when you have an accident, you call your insurance company
Yes.
and you go, "Oh, I had an accident on a road in Germany." "Oh, well, okay, what happened?" "Oh, I hit a,"
Oh yeah. And if you damage anything, you got to pay for it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, but you see people just go on YouTube, and this guy's just plowing into trees and flipping cars, and yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing.
Kind of a point of reference is that 742 for us was a GT3 lap time just a few years ago.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
And so to
And
get
now
that out
you're
of
doing it. All right. Well, Calvin, thank you, my friend.
Thanks, Jay.
Thanks for bringing this by. I mean, it's a new world, and it's a whole new deal. Is your background electronics? Is that what you came
Mechanical engineering.
from? Just mechanical
Yeah.
engineering. Okay. So, and you're in the whole electric part of it, right?
I love it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's great. You guys have done a great job, and that's the future. So once again, thank you.
Thanks
All
again.
right.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.